Eric Swalwell of California. He is a member of the House Judiciary Committee and a former 2020 presidential candidate. Congressman, Trump's former attorney was on our air today predicting Trump will not be indicted for mishandling classified documents or for trying to overturn the election. Your response?
As a former prosecutor, I can tell you in the history of grand juries, it's never a good thing for the target of an investigation that the grand jury is being reconvened. If the prosecutors find, evidence that is exonerating, and it's not looking good for the case, typically they would just wind up the case and make the case go away. But I think what you're seeing here is a confluence of two things that Donald Trump has not experienced or done in the past. One, he is getting more and more reckless as we see, having these conversations with an attorney. He probably always thought that an attorney was, the sandbox, so to speak, where he could talk about his crimes, whereas we know with others, he would always talk around crimes. But even in the Meadows interview, just bragging, so flagrantly to the Meadows biographer about what he had suggests to me that this guy's gotten away with so much for so long. He is just being a little more open about his crimes. The other part here, though, is he has a prosecutor in Jack Smith who is, doggedly chasing the evidence and not playing this on Trump's terms. He's playing on Trump's side of the field, going where the evidence and facts lead him, which is what we always want a prosecutor to do.
It strikes me, Congressman, that many of the same Republicans who supported Trump's coup attempt, they were working against the debt deal this past week. How do you move forward? How do you do your job when certain colleagues are willing to put our democracy, the world economy on the line?
Yeah, I'm anti-apocalypse, and so I voted to pay America's bills and not see my constituents have their savings and children's college funds jeopardized. But what we see right now is this framing of competence versus chaos, and we did the Republicans' job for them. More Democrats voted to pay America's bills than Republicans last week. And so Kevin McCarthy, he may have the title of speaker, but he doesn't have the job. And what worries me, though, Alicia, is that they showed that they were willing, to default on our debt. Now we have to fund the government in a couple months at the end of September. And what would they be willing to do again? Again, Democrats were pro keeping the government running, so we'll deliver the votes to do that. And then also, what about Ukraine? Donald Trump just said recently that he would end this conflict in 24 hours. If you're Vladimir Putin, you take two things away from that. One, I should stay in this conflict and wait for Donald Trump to get into it. And two, I should help Donald Trump win so that he can help me get the best deal possible. So that means Ukraine is going to need our support more than ever. And I'm just wondering if the Republicans who've been too Putin curious will be up for helping us do that.
There's a member of the House Freedom Caucus claiming the budget ended up being a, quote, Democrat bill. I want you to take a listen.
We failed. Honestly, the speaker got Democrats to vote for this bill because the bill is, and in fact, more Democrats voted for this bill than Republicans. This bill is a Democrat bill. It is a bill that not only avoided a default, but also locked in the progressive gains that the president made in the last 2 years.
I mean, I think he's making your election time ads for you.
We're pro-governing and pro-competence. I'd say it's an American bill because it paid America's debts, and much of that tab was Donald Trump's tab. And while we didn't like all the terms of the deal, the alternative was to crash the economy and every American's savings. And so we chose competence. They chose chaos, and I like that framing going into the next election.
Competence versus chaos. I mean, it also strikes me that you had a lot of Republicans who wanted to run on this idea of freedom. I'm thinking of one Republican in particular, and you've already seen the Biden campaign come out, their first ad actually jujitsuing that freedom frame away from them, saying if you want freedom, if you want more rights, there's one party that's giving them to you. There's another party that's taking them away. I am not entirely clear then on what it is they have to run with, other than something you said. You called yourself anti-apocalypse. A lot of their messaging out there, if you listen to what they're saying in Iowa, in New Hampshire, it is not hope. It is not a better America and a better tomorrow. It is actually the apocalypse is coming, and somehow we're the guys to stop it.
Yeah, they want the crisis. We want the solutions. And we see that on every issue. And we should own the freedom frame. We should own the flag. And, the freedom for women to make their own healthcare decisions, the freedom for your kids to not live in fear in their classrooms from gun violence, the freedom for every American to read what they want to read and not have their books banned. This is going to be about freedom. And again, I like where we stand on that and where they too often stand with fascism.
Congressman Eric Swalwell, thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday evening.